at the making of ISA and Pension Millionaire, I want to define very carefully who is a millionaire. Now, a millionaire is someone whose net worth, that is, when you subtract your liabilities from your assets, that person or that individual, then what is more than 1 million units of a currency. That is, if you have £1, it means £1 in 1 million times makes you a millionaire. Now, you can be a millionaire in some currency, but not a millionaire in any other currency. For example, if you in terms of Vietnamese dong, you can be a millionaire or even a billionaire. In Naira, you can be a millionaire or billionaire. But what we are looking at is becoming an ISA or pension millionaire within the UK context. Now, there are different pathways to getting this millionaire status. And I think this is very important for me to try and distinguish as we start this conversation. Now, there is what we call the fast lane, and there is something we call the slow lane to becoming a millionaire. And this is very important because if you don't distinguish it, people tell us, you might just begin to think, well, what does it mean? How can you get there? We have said it is possible for you to do this slow and steady, but then it is also possible for you, for example, to have a business and sell that business on. And because you have sold a business, you then become a millionaire as a result of selling that business. So it's possible for you to get to being a millionaire without that process of time. So in that kind of instance, we can say that's a millionaire fast lane, and there is also the millionaire slow lane. So now let's look at two distinctions, and mainly these two distinctions are based off two different books. The first one is the book called How to Make a Million Slowly, and this book is written by John Lee. It's called Lord Lee at the moment, and this book also embodies some of the principles that we have discussed so far on this platform in terms of your journey in investing. Essentially, it is a long-term investment approach. It is a process-driven one, such that you invest your income or your money in a platform or in an investment account that grows over time. And here we are focusing on you getting paid dividend and also reinvesting your dividends such that over time it compounds to become a million, to become millions and even several million. And one of the principles that is embodied within this pathway, this slow lane, so to speak, is that you live below your means. That is, if you are earning £10,000 after tax on a monthly basis, you are not spending £10,000 every month. It means that you are living below your means. Then, because you are living below your means, you have a buffer. The money that is left, you invest it consistently over a period of time. And as you invest this money into different investments, it also produces what is called an income. And this income is tend to refer to as dividend. And that dividend should then be reinvested over time. And gradually, before you know it, in a matter of time or even decades, this becomes millions in your investment account. Now, there are risks to this approach. For example, if you are investing slowly, you can face the challenge of inflation, and inflation simply refers to the borrowing capacity of your money being eroded over time. Now, if you are building wealth on a slow lane, you also have issues of maybe job loss. For example, if you are earning money and all of a sudden there's a downtime in the economy, you're not earning as much as you can, that can also impact how fast your progress towards that goal. And also, in some cases, people invest over a long time, and by the time they get to million, they are no longer here to use the money. So there is always a risk into going on the slow lane. Then there is another one called the Millionaire Fast Lane, and this is based on the book by M.J. DeMarco. Now, in this book by M.J. DeMarco, he favors the idea that you can go hard and fast, such that you can be made millionaire as quickly as possible. And his approach is that to become a millionaire as quickly as possible, you need to be a problem solver. It means you need to be an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur, it means you identify problems that people have, you provide solutions to their problem, and because you are providing solutions to people's problem, you are being paid to solve that problem. And the more you are being paid over time, you can decide to then sell that company to a different individual. And because you have sold that company, you are getting millions for that. For example, if you note over time, for example, if you look at Meta or Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, he has bought Instagram, he has bought WhatsApp, for example. And because these companies or these other social media companies like WhatsApp and Instagram, they've gotten a lot of followers. So for him to remain relevant in that area, try to buy them over. And by buying them over, it means that the owners or the founders of that companies are millionaires or if not billionaires as a result of that transaction. And that is the fast lane approach. Of course, this also has its own challenges. If you start a business, the business can fail. And if the business failed and you have invested all your money, all your time into that business, then you can go back to square one, start over again. But then because there is a higher risk involved, there is a higher return involved. So when we talk about getting to that millionaire status, there are two different approaches. Or you can say, well, how about we combine the two such that you have a 9-to-5 and your 9-to-5 then supports within that period of time that you are having a 9-to-5, you are starting a business, and over time that business continues to grow until the income from that business replaces your 9-to-5 salary, such that you find a balance in there. And again, that requires a process of time. And like we always say, time is of essence. Time is of essence. So it is always very important to have the element of time in your mind. So don't just lose sight of time as a factor. All right. So now that we've talked about the pathways to the millionaire status, let's look at what we are actually trying to focus our attention to today, and that is the ISA and Pension Millionaire. And again, you can say this is the millionaire slow lane approach. So an ISA or pension millionaire is anyone in which the balance in their ISA or pension wrapper is at least £1 million. So we are talking about people who have an ISA. We know what an ISA is from last month. We have people who have pension. But then if you look at the combined value or even the individual value of either their pension or their ISA, and the value is more than £1 million, then we can say such an individual is an ISA millionaire or a pension millionaire. Now, in the UK, the first person to actually become an ISA millionaire is called Lord John Lee of Stratford. And this is a man who, if you look at his story, very interesting, because for someone like him, he did mention in his book and even in some interview that he started very early. From a very early age, I think about 11 or so, he started putting some money into the stock market. And this is a very familiar trend. If you look at people who have done so well in the stock market, they started very early. The people like Warren Buffett, for example, also started very early. So for him, the first ISA millionaire in the UK, he started very early, such that by the time, after about 16 years of investing, he was already a millionaire in his ISA at that time. And again, that was in 2003, not too long ago. He became that first person to be an ISA millionaire in the UK. And by the time he was a millionaire, he has invested about £126,000 over 16 years. So over 16 years, he invested £126,000, and that money became £1 million in 2003 rather, and his annualized return on a yearly basis is about 21%. So it means that every year for those 16 years, he was returning about 21% from his investing. And at the moment in the UK, there are more than 5,000 people who have at least £1 million in their ISA. Now the question is, from their story, how did they get there? One of the things that you notice that is very common about them is in their ISA, they maximize all the 20,000 limit every year. It means at every year they put in the maximum that is allowed into their ISA. The same thing is true for pension as well. They put in the maximum that is allowed into the pension. Now you are thinking, oh, that's 20,000. I don't even have 20,000 to spare to put in the ISA. Again, that's one way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it is you can aim high. There's this saying that many of us might have seen, that if you aim for the moon, even if you miss it, you can hit the star. So the idea is you have a goal. Okay, I want to get to this point. I want to have £1 million in my ISA. What are the things I need to do? Now, even by the time you get to the end of your work life and you are not able to get to that point, you will still have something substantial in your ISA that you can use for yourself and even be a blessing to other people as well. So again, we will talk about these different things that you can do, but as we go along, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat. If you have any thoughts, do put them in the chat. Now, the other thing that is very interesting about ISA millionaires is that from virtually every one of them, more than 90% of their portfolio is in equity. That is, they are, this, I would say, aggressive investors, such that they have more than 90% of their investing in equities. That is, in the stock market, mainly. Very few of them have cash holding, and most of those cash is just something to fall back on in case it is necessary. So you can see they are going in hard into equity-based investing.